Welcome to the Lemonade Stand Stories podcast. Tune in every Thursday as we share inspirational stories from the world's greatest creators, entrepreneurs, and go-getters about how they've turned life's lemons into lemonade. And now, here's this week's host, the CEO of Lemonade Stand, Derek Miner.
We are so excited here at Lemonade Stand to have Nicole Tanner on our Lemonade Stand Stories podcast. Nicole, thank you so much for taking time out of your day.
You are so welcome.
To come and hang out with us here.
I love it in this cute studio office. It's so cute.
Yeah, it's fun. You come up here often. You live in St. George. Mm-hmm. That's where Swig started.
Yes.
And what brings you up here frequently?
Yeah. So our corporate office is now up here. And honestly, we have like 25 locations in northern Utah. Wow. At least. I probably have that number wrong. But yeah, there's just a lot of action going on up here. A lot of the team is up here. A lot of our upper management team is up here. So part of my role now is to just make sure that the team feels supported and that the culture is good and that they see that I still am a very big part of the business, and I'm kind of like a big cheerleader for them, hopefully. But I was a cheerleader in high school, so I can do that role really well. But just to help keep that culture good and alive, and then to also see the customers. So this afternoon, that's why I've got my Swig shirt on. I don't have my work shoes on yet; those will come on later.
And what are your work shoes, though?
They're just like, I mean, they're not anything special. I've tried several. Like I just bought expensive. Can't even think of the name of them, but they're like a running shoe. And I wore them to our Oklahoma store opening, thinking because I do lots and lots of steps on those days. But I don't love them. I like Vans. Is that silly? But I wear Vans. And so I have them in my car. But I'm going to go work in our Ochre store this afternoon. I'll just go in and work for a couple hours and pump up the team and talk to the customers. I love to interact with the customers. That's where it all started. Yep. We don't have a business without them. Yeah. So I love to just go interact and work the line.
That is the best. Yeah. So a lot of people talk about that. This is what I'm so inspired about you. Specifically, even just saying that, because a lot of people talk about team and they talk about culture, things like that. It's like, oh, let's put vinyl letters on the wall. These are our core values. This is what's important to us. But then in reality, it's totally disconnected, right? You ask one of your team members, hey, what's your favorite core value? Oh, let me, they have to go and they're kind of scrambling. I have to tell you an experience that happened this morning. So we went and picked up some Swig drinks for all of our team here.
Love it. Which store did you go to?
We were right here at the new one in Orem. Yep, on University Parkway. Yeah. Which was fantastic. And I love, there's this little sign that says, wait for just a minute, a team member will be here to help you. Yeah. And I love that it said team member and not employee. No. Because we call our team, we don't call them employees, they're team members because we're all in this together. Totally. And I was super inspired by that. Yeah. And as you talk about culture, I really want to dig into that because that's something that I absolutely love is talking about culture. It's so much more than just drinks and ping pong and things like that. It's like what happens when it's hard. And I want to talk more, a lot about how you have grown the business. But I was super inspired. I said, this is my order. I was ordering I said, I've got a whole bunch of drinks. She's like, that's awesome. She's like, we've got a couple new people in here. It was Rochelle. She's awesome. Amazing. So a little shout out. Amazing. And she said, this can be great. It's going to be a great experience for our team in there. And I give them all the orders.
That's amazing that she's like, listen, this is a good learning experience for us. She's like involving you in the process of Swig.
Yeah. I know, and it was awesome.
Which is amazing. I always want our team members, our customers, I want everybody to feel like they're part of the team. Yeah. I want our customers to feel like they almost have ownership in Swig.
Love that.
Like it's their store as well. Yep. So I love that she did that.
Yeah, and it was so cool. So I placed my order and I'm like, and the last drink that I ordered is I'd like the founder. And then I hesitate. I'm like, well, do I tell them that I'm going to be hanging out with Nicole in a little bit? Yes. And I said, that founder, I said, I'm actually ordering for Nicole because she's going to come hang out at our office. She's like, no way. This was the thing that I was just like, this is the coolest thing. Is she said, I love Nicole.
Oh, I'm going to cry.
She is so awesome. And to have someone who knew, right? Wow. She knew. So when you talk about being a cheerleader and, being there for your team, because that's really what really good leaders do, right? They're there to help, encourage, and bless the lives of those that they surround themselves with to inspire them to be better, to help them accomplish what they want. So not only was the first pulling in, seeing team member, right? I'm like, That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then asking, oh, I love Nicole. She's so awesome. You know, from one of your team. So, and the whole experience was great. And I mean, talk about happiness when we're all drinking. Yes, we love that. So
that is really good. Because anytime someone says, yeah, I went through a store, and they go to tell me the experience, and I know it's probably going to be good, but every so often there's like, hey, just so you know. So I always just go, what's it going to be like?
Yeah.
You know, so I'm so glad it was so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you talk about culture, because obviously when you started in 2010 in St. George, one location,
right.
I want to hear about the idea that led up to it, right? I know you talked about going to Sonic, and the Pebble Ice, by the way, is the best ice
You can't
ever.
do a drink without it. Yeah.
No, you can't.
You can't.
You get like other ice cubes. It's like, this just isn't right.
No.
So from that experience, the culture's tight knit, right? You know everything, you know everybody, but this speaks volumes to know where you are today, and still to pull in and have that feeling.
Yes.
How have you done that, and how do you stay involved in building the culture and community? What have you seen that's worked?
That's a good question.
That worked?
Yeah, that's super important. I remember as I had to step away from the day-to-day with those customers and with that team when we opened store number 2. And it was actually really, really hard. I was telling you when we first walked in that Swig is like my 6th baby.
Yeah.
And especially the original Swig. Like there was a lot of blood, sweat, tears that went into a lot of growing pains, a lot of learning along the way, figuring out as you go. And getting to know that regular customer on a daily. Those first customers that are like the first time, you know, Swig people.
Yeah.
And it was really hard for me to think, am I ever gonna have that back? Am I ever gonna be able to do that again? Because I loved it so much.
Yeah.
And as I stepped away from that somewhat, I just remember thinking, I need to make sure and ensure that same love and feeling exists in every Swig. And I'm going to work really hard to make sure that it does. And it is a sacrifice, because what that entails is you are still going to many locations. Like I'm going up to Idaho, where I'm from, in a week and a half. And on my way back down, I'm always working. Yeah. I will always try to find a way to slide in a visit somewhere. So I'm going to hit the Logan store and the Ogden store and the Layton store and the Clinton store and the Clearfield store on my way back down, because I like love it so much. I want to be in that store. I want to meet those team members. Yeah. I want to see those customers. Like it literally is like a lifeline for me. And so I think that hopefully helps to keep that culture good of like, this is just not a job. Yeah. This is like the best part of my day, even to come into work. Is it stressful? Totally. Yeah. Because it's very busy and the lines never stop. But it is fun. Yeah. And it is way more than just a drink even. Although we serve amazing drinks, it is more about those people inside the store and out. And so that's kind of what I do now is I kind of go give that culture Swig shot in the arm as I come into the stores of just like, how are you doing? Like, tell me about your life. What's going on? And isn't this so fun? And who wants to go line bust with me? And because that really is what it's all about. We are part of that community. We're going to give you an amazing drink and some caffeine and whatever. But we're also there to be the best part of that customer's day. And I think that's how it hopefully is happening by visits, not only from me, but from other upper management that are in that store, helping those team members and that manager feel supported and loved. And then that spreads out to the customers as well. Yeah,
that's really interesting that you mentioned. A couple questions. Do you announce that you're coming by the stores?
That's a really good question. I used to kind of surprise them. Yeah. Just like, hey, but then I felt it was almost like, I was scary to them. I'm like, I am not scary. I don't want you to be scared of me because I'm a pretty nice person. So
absolutely.
So I think it's better to have it be more of a win for them of like, hey, I'm going to come see you and your team and work the line with you and just see how you're doing and hang out basically. And I'm going to be there, tomorrow, or I don't give them a long heads up, just like a couple days notice. And make it more like a win and a fun thing. Because as we grow, we need leaders.
Right.
We need people opening these locations because we do it from within. We usually don't hire from without. We've only done it a couple times to run a store. So we grow from within. So that's part of what I do is get them excited about growth. And hey, can you believe we have a store open in Texas now? And who would like to go open a store in Texas for us? That type of energy, I feel like is pretty authentic coming from me.
Yeah.
And so that's part of my job too, is to be looking for talent as I head into locations as well.
That's awesome.
If I see a manager that's just kicking butt, I'm like, you need to be a regional manager.
Yeah.
So it's just getting more eyes and ears in the store and hopefully, like I said, a good kind of like culture, amazing swig shot in their arm of like, I love my job.
I love it. A swig shot in the arm. There's so many great things that you mentioned. How do you identify great leaders and traits that in up and coming leaders, and how do you support them to help them accomplish what they want to do in their career? That's
a great question. I always tell upper leadership when they're looking for talent, find the person that cares. When you find the person that cares like you do, you can teach them everything else. But if they care like you do, and that's probably comes from them watching you, seeing how you care for the team and the store and the customers. So find that person who does things like you do and cares like you do. And then that's how it's going to just naturally evolve. And so we tell our managers, when you get into a store, whether it's a new store they've just opened or whether they're new, they're managing, their first job is to find somebody that can do that job just as good as they can. Like almost find somebody to replace you.
Yep.
And at first managers are like, why would I ever do that?
Yeah.
Like, and that's like cutting off, my own head. But no, it's actually helping you and benefiting you. So even when they just take a vacation, that store is going to be well taken care of because you've taught that assistant manager or whatever, that shift lead to treat that store and that team and those customers like they would.
Yep.
So that is how we do it. We are always looking for the care. Look for the care, look for the people who have that drive and that passion and that customer service and that leadership. You find it out by working side by side with them. You don't find it out with a sit down interview. You find it out with the daily interactions of watching them lead out or not lead out, whatever that may be. It's all the day-to-day interactions, but it's mainly you look for the care. Look for my team members, the upper leadership team knows, Nicole, we're looking for the care. I'm like, that's it. Look for that care because they will take care of it like it's normal. It's kind of like when I stepped away from the original Swig. I needed to find somebody who would care for that store and those customers as much as I would.
That's right.
So you look for the care.
That is so inspiring. And you think about that, creating that care and community, not only for your customers, because everyone talks about customer experience, right? Customer experience is so important. Yes, it is. Yeah. But what's even more important is how your team feels, right? Do they feel cared for? Do they feel supported? Because you say, go care for the customer, right? And you're not caring for them.
Yeah, just go do it.
There's a total disconnect, right? But if you care for them, and by you showing up too with them, to not say, oh, I'm just going to kind of watch what's going on so I can see if people are making mistakes. I'm going to be right there with them because I'm probably going to make some mistakes too. And we're going to learn together. But that's the team member mentality is we're all in this together.
Totally. I'm like, what cream goes in that drink again? Oh, thank you. I mean, I'm right there with them. We need to go and plug a toilet. Let's go do it, you know? So, I totally agree with you. That is so important to know that you're alongside with them and they're not just out doing the yucky work.
Yeah. Isn't that so interesting? Just as leadership, as you were talking to, most people think, oh, I need to push myself ahead. But I think one of the greatest ironies in life is the degree to which we focus on someone else. Not only are they blessed, but we are as well in that process. Yeah. Which is most people are like, oh, I need to focus on me and on this. It's like, not as a leader. As a leader, right? Your job is to help build and care for and take care of. I love that idea of care because caring is so important, right? When people say, oh, I don't care, right? What does that mean? Well, I do care. And you can see a difference between caring and not caring. Yeah. And especially in a high touch drive-through environment, right? You're creating an experience and you can tell if someone cares almost instantly.
Totally.
Especially now, right?
Totally. And that's what I tell the team too is it does start inside those four walls, and that just naturally will flow out to that customer, good or bad. So you instill that care into that team member, and then that customer will feel it. And then they will choose to come get their drink fix from Swig and no one else, because a lot of people can do a Diet Coke. I mean, and there's competitors out doing exactly what we're doing.
Yeah.
So we just have to make sure that we keep those core values, which is caring for our team and our customers. And then they will want to come to us because it's more than the drink. Yeah. It's about that feeling that they feel as they come through that line. And they know, like we know our regulars, like by name, we know their drink. Like it's a connection. It's a people connection, but it does flow from the inside out. So that's why I do a lot of these visits. And that's why our leadership team likes to be in the stores as much as we can, because there can also be the opposite of the good care. And there can be almost like, I don't like to call it a cancer, but it kind of is, because it will spread. And it spreads in the store, but then it spreads out to the customer as well. So you just have to make sure that you curb it really quick and make whatever necessary changes.
That's awesome. As you think about, there's a couple of questions I want to ask. One around core values and how you came up with, some of the most important core values for you. How do you reiterate those to the team?
Yeah.
And then second, how do you balance with everyone kind of having a hard time, when they come in, they're not showing up at kind of with their A game. Yeah. Do you use your core values and other training opportunities to just be one-on-one and ask them, hey, how are you doing? And tell me about that. So maybe two-part question of how your values help you run your organization and see people where they're at and help them get to where they want to be, most importantly, or where they can be.
Totally. I think it's seeing our team members as people. And they have lives and they have stuff going on, just like I do, just like everybody does, just like our customers do. Yep. Side note, I always tell our team members, we don't know what that customer is going through. Like this usually is the best part of their day as they come through our line. So we don't want to mess that up. Yeah. Like we want to make sure that we are providing that great customer service and that care to that customer, because what if they are having a really crappy day and they come through and that team member's like, and here's your drink. Then their day is not any better than it was before.
That's right.
So that goes in with that. So I think how we do that is we treat that team member like a person, and we make sure that we're asking them. Like one thing that every team member, when they come into work, we do what's called a Swig talk, and we go through kind of the goals for the day. But the very first thing they ask them, the manager, is they say, hey, how's it going? What was, like, they have one key point. What was the favorite part of your day today? Or what's your favorite movie? And try to like connect with them on like a deeper level than like, hey, welcome to work, clock in, let's get serving drinks. It is more like, hey, how are you doing? Tell us a little bit about what's going on in like a 1-minute version so we can get working. But it's connecting to them on them as a person. I think that's how we do it. And then it's also, we do one-on-ones. Every manager wants to do or needs to do a one-on-one sit-down interview with the team member on a quarterly basis. And it's setting goals and following up with goals and expectations, but it's also just a one-on-one time with them to sit down for 10 minutes and talk with that manager. And then they can get to know, what, they're having a struggle at home. We maybe need to schedule them differently or whatever. But it's just staying connected with who they are as a person. Because if you do that, then that is helping to instill that care, because then they just will naturally feel part of a team and a family. We are a family and we're going to take care of you. So
that is so awesome. And as you think about too, a drive-through experience, you have moments, right?
Oh yeah.
And seconds often just to make a difference and an impact. Yes. And I was thinking about that, how you have no idea where someone is at, but they're coming in to have this drink take care of them in some way, right? It's doing a job for them. As Clayton Christensen talked about in his book. I love it. He's like, I'm hiring this drink to do a job for me, to help me navigate some of the challenges. But as you think about that, it can go so well, even just being greeted with a smile, asking them how their day is, right? Such an impactful moments. Have you heard some stories that have just super inspired you from your team, even and from customers as they've come through, where you have these moments to make an impact? Oh,
all the time, every day. In fact, I wish I could like collect all of them, because I know that I'm not even hearing like half of them, because we have 41 locations and, like to interview all the, hey, tell me about those moments in life. So I would love to collaborate. In fact, that's a good note. I'm like, let me hear all your moments. That would be a really good thing of like, please send me all of your amazing connective moments in the drive-thru with your customers.
Yeah.
But no, I've had several, and mine are more particular recently. I mean, throughout the years, it was lots of different things from my child was just diagnosed with diabetes, or I just lost, a spouse, and they're in my drive-through line, and I'm like, oh, heavy. I'm so sorry, but they're coming to get their, like, here's a good example. So in the St. George line, and I always think to myself, what if I wouldn't have been on the line that day taking orders outside? I would have missed that opportunity. But a good, amazing lady in St. George, died, and she was a big Swig fan, and her parents were coming through the drive-thru. I had never met them because they lived up here, and they came through, and they knew who I was, and they said, hey, we just wanted to let you know that we just know that, our daughter loves Swig, and we just came from her funeral, like literally just come from her funeral, and we wanted to come get a drink and thought of her and to lift our day. And I was like, that's when you just go, okay, this business that I created is far more than a business. It is like, it's just the best part of it. It's a pick me up, which is what we'd hoped and envisioned that we would do. But to see it on that level, like right there, raw in front of you, is amazing. Another experience, very surreal. When we started doing Save the Cups with my journey with breast cancer, afterwards, I would take orders like I do in the line, and so many women, because now they kind of knew the face behind Swig. I just became more forefront at that point with Save the Cups, and several times women would pull up and with tears running down their face, they would say, thank you for all that you're doing and the awareness that you're bringing, and for giving back. I'm just on my way home from chemotherapy.
Wow.
I'm a breast cancer survivor, patient, whatever. And it's just a very surreal, amazing moment of like, we are way more than just a drink. We are a company, a part of the community, and we want to help out wherever we can, and we want to be there for our customers and for anybody. And so, I think those are two of like a million stories of people coming through our drive-thru. So I'm going to get going on trying to gather more of those stories, because I know they're out there.
Yeah.
They're out there on a daily.
Yeah.
So.
And you said that, Nicole, right? Everyone's coming in for this drink to do something for them, to brighten their day.
Yeah.
And what a neat part to be a part of their day. Because again, we're so connected, right? Online with everything, but yet there's not as much human interaction as we had, right? But a drive-thru gives us that opportunity. Totally. Just to make someone's day in a really simple way.
And we at Swig will never take your order through a squawk box. It will always be person to person. And that's how it's always been. Yeah. It's not anything we just changed recently. It's always been that way, and it will always be that way, because it's about that connection.
Yeah. And that level of care, which you talk about. And you can see, even for those who are listening, you can see this is so important that you're so intentional about this, right? Because you will have a culture, whether you're deliberate about it or it will just naturally emerge, right? But having people have these experiences where they'll feel, right, the most important. And in a commoditized world where you can get anything you want, really for any price at any time for any reason. In fact, Amazon's maybe ruined all of us, right? Because we can get anything we want anywhere. That's right. Yeah. But there's not that human touch, and really the differentiator, as we've been talking about, is really that experience. It really is. And what's so neat is you're taking orders. Yes, it scales, right? Hard to scale sometimes. Yeah. But that one-to-one interaction is so important. So important. And just critical, as you've shared that. Well, you mentioned you're going up to Victor, right? In that area, west of the beautiful Tetons. Amazing. What an amazing area. Yep. Growing up there, what are some of the lessons that you learned that have helped you throughout your life? Do you reflect on that often?
All the time. In fact, I just was finishing up a piece that we are writing for Utah Business Magazine. They're going to highlight me, like, go figure. Oh, no. So
that's going to be an awesome highlight.
So I just recently, just this morning, was going over some edits on it. But they talk about growing up, and they like, tell me about your childhood. So talked about Teton Valley, and I grew up on a dairy farm. Wow. And
okay, that's no joke.
I know.
For those who have not been there.
I know.
So seriously, Nicole,
I know.
I think we need to talk about that. We could actually spend an entire hour just talking about that. One of my really good friends, they have a dairy farm.
Yeah.
And my kid said, hey, tell us about milk and where this comes from. I said, guess what we're going to do?
We
went to their dairy farm in January.
Oh, yeah. Very worst, hardest time.
Right? They're like, wait, this is where our milk comes from? I said, you want to see this?
I love
There's
that you
no
did
vacation. That. There's no breaks.
No.
There's no, it has to happen.
Yep.
Tell us about that from your perspective.
It was a perfect start to own your own business, right? Go figure. Yeah. No, especially restaurant business. So grew up on a dairy farm. Plus my dad, and there wasn't a ton of cows. I think we had like 40 to 50. And then my dad also had potatoes and wheat and barley. And like when you don't tell them a dairy farm, you always just have like all the other stuff with it. Plus he was a seminary teacher. So 5th of 8 kids. So large family. But an amazing life. Life on the farm is an amazing life because you learn so many great things from it. Life lessons to hard work, to you don't quit till the job's done, to get creative with how you're going to have fun.
That's right. With whatever resources you can find.
We didn't have TV for 3 years. So played lots of games, played outside. But I think the main thing it teaches you is that work ethic. Is because you have to milk those cows morning and night. Now, my siblings will tease that I didn't do half as much as they did because my dad sold them when I was a freshman in high school. But they would go out and help milk them, but I would also feed the calves and then I would have to help gather the cows into the corral to milk them. But it is just a day in, day out. Like someone always has to do it.
Right.
You can't just say, well, you know what? We're just not going to milk the cows for a day. No, someone has to do it. So amazing groundwork for me, not knowing that then I'm going to open my own food and beverage company. And that is the restaurant business. You don't sleep. Like it is, you are always on. Yeah. You're always on. You like, my kids tease me that with the first store, we'd drive by after I'd already worked there all day and then we'd have a line wrapped around the corner and I'm like, I just am going to go in for a second. And they're like, yeah, right. In fact, I have a picture of my youngest on about 7 soda bibs. If you've ever seen those, like the cardboard bibs. Yeah. And he literally is like this forlorn look, like I hate my life. And I have a picture of him on there. But that's just, so I think the farm life instilled in that hard work, don't quit till the job's done. Mm-hmm. And the farm life's a good life. It's a hard life, but it's an amazing life. I wish my dad still had all of that and I would ship my kids up there. Well, they're all older now, but in the summer and just go work. Yeah. Sign up, get up early. Yeah. So it's amazing.
There is, there are so many, not only life lessons, but just in work itself. Yeah. Being involved in something, doing something, caring.
For animals.
For something else.
For animals that sometimes you want to beat. No. Mad cow disease is a true thing. You cuss more on a farm than you do anywhere else.
Because I grew up on a farm too.
Okay.
But not a dairy farm.
Yeah, but still.
We hauled hay and we had horses and we had to take care of them. Yeah. And my dad would always say, he says, the horses can't feed themselves, especially in the winter, right? They can when you have water and feed out there, but in the wintertime, no. And I'll never forget one time, I was busy in high school and our horses were not far from the high school and it was cold, really cold. And I was distracted by something else probably. My dad was out of town. I go home. I'm getting ready to go to bed. And he's like, he just called to check. He's like, hey, how are the horses? My heart dropped. Oh my gosh. I haven't been down there. Nicole, I jumped in my car. I drove down there. Guess where all the horses were standing around? The water, because it had frozen.
Oh, yeah.
And I ran in there frankly. I'm like, oh my gosh. I went up to each of the horses. I'm like, I'm so sorry. Because they could have like frozen to death, you know? And I'm like, and that was such a lesson. I'm like, you always have to be thinking about them. And then they'd be caught on the fences. And then there'd be all this stuff. But those life lessons, you have to solve problems.
You're caring. Yeah. You're caring for
And you know what was even cooler about that? I went in, guess what? Our water main in the barn was frozen.
Okay, so you're like problem solving.
I walked across the street to some amazing neighbors and said, hey, can I borrow some water? And I literally was bucketing water across the street. And as fast as I could get it in there, it was gone. And I'm like, oh my gosh, crazy experience. Anyway, there's one of just like that, one of hundreds of experiences.
No, honestly, it's like life. Rain, snow, whatever, heat, you have to do it. Yeah. And maybe that's where the care comes in. You're caring for helpless animals that can't do it themselves.
Yeah, so true.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that you grew up on a farm.
Well, as you think about starting and entrepreneurs, what are some of the characteristics early on that you pulled from, or people that entrepreneurs that inspire you? What are some of those characteristics that stand out to you, right? Hard work, we've talked about. Care, we've talked about. Are there any others?
Yeah, I would say pivoting. I think that too oftentimes founders
like a pivot in a field.
Yeah. Like this
change.
is not working. We're gonna. So I think too oftentimes business owners and founders are so stuck in their ways because they just have always done it that way, that they just think this is the way we do it. Well, not necessarily. Right. So if something isn't working, if it's not benefiting you, if your sales aren't high in it, if it's slowing down your line, you'd stop doing it. For example, we started with Swig selling shaved ice just because we thought that'd be a fun thing. We'd just been to Hawaii and we're like, let's do shaved ice. It was mainly about the Coke and Pepsi products, but we're like threw in the shaved ice. We were not great at it. And to cut the blocks of ice that had to go into the machine, that had to be the perfect size, and then to clamp it down. And sometimes it would shave good and sometimes it wouldn't. And we just were not great at it. We held on to it for way too long, like 5 years. Wow. Finally, we're like, this is slowing our lines down. We are not great at it. I've had many wounds from that machine. Yeah. So we decided no more shaved ice, and our managers all cheered when we threw out the shaved ice machines. They're like, yes. But don't be afraid to pivot, and bringing on partners, which is another tricky part of owning your own business, because it comes to a point where you need help. And some founders and business owners think, I'm fine. We don't need help. Well, we got to a point in 2017 that we had 16 locations at that time. A lot of them up here, still living in St. George. So I was just back and forth all the time. And I could see we were not giving the care that we needed to the teams and the stores. We were not providing a good service to them. We were not lifting them like we should have been. So we ended up partnering with a company that for foods group, Savory.
Yeah, Savory.
And they had the restaurant experience. Right. They'd had it from Kneaders and now even bigger, grander. And so they came in and took a lot of that heavy lifting off of accounting, marketing, site development, you name it. And I got to focus back on the customers and the team. But you have to know when that pivoting moment is and not be afraid to give a part of your baby to a partner, trusting that they will take care of it like you will. Yeah. And then come along with that in a partnership is your idea may not be the best idea. So when we rebranded, that was big for us, really scary for us. I bet. Because that was in 2018, 19. And I was so afraid that our customers would not resonate with the brand still. Because it is the best part of their day. And we do have regulars and they feel ownership in Swig. Yeah. So I was like, will they still want to come to Swig? We took away the Swig guy. He went to college is what I would say. He's on vacation somewhere. We just knew as we expanded outside of the state that we needed a more clean, I don't know what the word is, but just something a little more easy to travel. Yeah. And that people would be like, oh, that looks like a serious brand. Yeah. And so that was some give and take in that, boardroom of like, I don't love that. I don't love that. Okay, well, you guys, okay, we're going to go with that. So don't be afraid to pivot if something is not working. And then best idea wins, and it may not be your idea. And trust that your partners are going to care for your organization, your brand, your business like you will. Yeah. And sometimes there's mistakes, but that's how you learn. And you do it graciously and humbly and go, all right, what did we learn from that? Okay, we're going to do differently next time. Yeah. So those are some of the lessons.
No, that's awesome. And as you think about taking on, partners, right? That's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
And so as you were doing kind of your diligence, as they probably were on you,
totally.
What were some of the things that you were looking for that were the most important? Obviously, we've talked about a lot of them, right? Yeah. And making sure that brand and that ethos and kind of the vision of what you wanted this to be, but then they could bring those additional resources to help you go and become what you needed to become, right? And where you needed to get to.
Totally. I think you can't be stuck in your ways because you won't grow to what you need to be. And I've always known that Swig deserves to be everywhere. And I think too often times you can get in your way of that. Right. You can get in the way of that because you're just like, no, I don't want to give up too much. Yeah. Because then I don't have the control. Yeah. Well, then you're not really serving this company that you've been blessed with.
That's right.
So when we met with Andrew Smith the first time.
Andrew's great.
He's so great. He did not look at his phone once in 2 hours. So that was very telling. And I still remember that walking out of that office going, wow, he was connected. Like he was in. Yeah. And that was a big, amazing thing that I was like, okay. Yeah, and it just felt right. I think, sometimes you'll meet with potential partners. Mm-hmm. Something just seems off and you're like, is that just me being nervous about it? Yeah. You'll know. Listen to your guts, listen to what you're being told. And that may be like, you know what, stay clear because they just want to dump money in it and not give you support. Right. Or they want to do something so different with your brand. Andrew was like, I just want to help support your Swig. I see the genius of it and I love where you're going. I just want to be along for the ride. I want to be your partner. So look for somebody that wants to work alongside you and be your partner and doesn't want to come in first off and go, we're going to change this and this and this and this. Right. We partnered December of 17 and we didn't do anything with the brand for almost 2 years. Mm-hmm. So they didn't come in with guns a-blazing of like, we're going to change this and this. And we knew that going in of like of their intentions.
That's awesome.
So, but it is hard because you're used to being all in control and majority ownership. Yeah. Like, right. So in order to partner, you then have a smaller piece of the pie, but hopefully that pie grows into a large pie to where your piece of the pie is worth a lot more. Mm-hmm. So don't get stuck in thinking, I want it all. Yeah. I want it all. I want all the control. Yeah. Because you'll actually shoot yourself in the foot. Yeah. Because you're not looking ahead far enough. You're just looking like right here, right now.
Yeah, that's such great advice. And again, thinking about it from a partner perspective, right?
Yeah.
We're partnering with you, which means we're locking arms and we're going to go make this happen together. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, I have a few questions from our team.
Love it.
They're like, oh, you're talking to Nicole. We've got to ask some of these questions. So there are all, I got to read this. This is really cool. There are all these magic combos at Swig. How do you come up with those? And it's not about the flavors, right? It's about the pebble ice, the styrofoam cup, the whole experience.
That's amazing. I'm feeling the love and the excitement just through that.
Oh, our team was so excited. They're like, this is so cool.
Oh, that's so awesome. You know what? We started so basic at the start, like literally 6 syrups and that's some advice I would give to entrepreneurs as well is start basic, start simple. Like we literally took orders on yellow Post-it notes for 3 years.
I remember
3 years. And a Costco cash register, like literally the most basic of the basics, because we didn't know what this was going to do. I mean, it was such a long shot. We were the first one to open this market, really. Right. And so we started so basic. And I think that honestly is what helped us to do what we did. So I think too oftentimes people start with the biggest and the grandest and have to have all the syrups and all the best things, the best building, like top notch. No, we literally, the original Swig is like this old rundown building that we got for the cheapest rent still to date. Yeah. It's 700 square feet, but it has a really big parking lot. So you can get a lot of cars in there.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I think it's like start simple. And then as you grow, then add the things that you need. Yeah. And then it's more organic and then you learn a lot along the way. So we started with basics, but then it's more of like the customer saying, hey, have you thought about getting in this syrup or blackberry, or have you thought about like the fruit water we've had forever? And that came from, we used to put fruit on as toppings on our ice cream, which we used to have, which we now got rid of because it wasn't. That's a whole nother story.
Right.
It was too hard to scoop. It was slowing down the line and people weren't coming for it. So one of the team members back in 2013, she made her own fruit water. She was trying to be healthy because when you work at Swig, you're like, all right, here's another drink for me. And you're just drinking too much soda. But she made a fruit water and it was out of that fruit and whatever. And I'm like, genius. Like that's going on the menu. So a lot of it is our team members behind the scenes trying all the greatest. They're like these mixologists back there.
Yeah.
They are the brains behind the drinks. Like they have all the great ideas.
Yeah.
The Strawberry Breeze was a team member out at our Trails Crossing store, and he came up with it, and I went and tried it. He's like, Nicole, I want you to try this drink. I really like it. And so I'm like, that's one of the best drinks we have. It's water-based. I'm like, bring it on. That's going on the menu.
Oh, I love it.
So it's really a team, and it's a collaboration. We'll put out messages to the managers. They send it out to the team of like, all right, what should our next best drink be? We want all your ideas. And so it happens like that. They're the masters behind it.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome. Okay. Another question from our team. Swig came into the market as its own unique thing, and an elevated soda shop where you could dream up any soda combo and make it happen. What did this trailblazing process look like for you? And did you know that it would take off and gain the type of popularity that it has?
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. So it all came to be because we'd go to Sonic and get a Diet Coke with lime with the Pebble Ice, because they were the only ones that really had Pebble Ice. Maverick didn't have it until we came along. They changed that about 4 years after we started, maybe 3. But they were the only ones that I knew that had Pebble Ice. Mm-hmm. So we'd go to Sonic. And also, I'm a mom of 5 kids, and back then they were little. And so getting your kids out of a car and walking into like a gas station is risky. Like they're going to come out with candy bars and chips. And so to stay safe in a drive-through line is much better. Yeah. So we'd go to Sonic and do that. And a lot of times the line would be long. You're waiting behind somebody that's ordering food. And so you just wanted a drink. Or your cup would come out kind of greasy and smelly because of the onions and burgers and fries. Mm-hmm. So we're just like, there's a better way to be getting our drink fixed. And that honestly was it. It's kind of like find a need and fill it. Yeah. And like what you've done. And so that really is like, I would appreciate that as a customer. Yeah. So why doesn't that exist? Okay, well, we're going to do that. Mm-hmm. So that honestly is how it began, is just, well, let's create this, because I'd be in that line with those customers getting it. And I know there's other people out there like us that want that. Mm-hmm. So that's how it started. Just, it needed to exist. Yeah. It needed to happen. And I knew other people would appreciate it just like we would.
That's so awesome. And I think a lot of people see a need and they want to fill the need, but it's really hard. What advice would you give to people that are just like, and it's so cool that you've started this when you did. Yeah. Right. And seeing that need, what advice would you give to people who just, they have an idea, they want to start it, starting small, starting simple? Like, those are great pointers. Anything else that you'd recommend?
So we opened it on the heels of the recession. Like the idea came 2009, fall of 2009. Right. People had lost their homes and their jobs and
needed some comfort.
They needed some comfort. No, that's exactly it. They were not going out to dinner as often as they normally would. They weren't going on vacations like they normally would, but they wanted to do something for themselves. And even if it was just getting a drink in a drive-through, and that's kind of how it all started. People actually thought that I was crazy for opening up a business in a recession. Right. Yeah. But I'm like, no. There's people out there like me that really, this is something important to them, and it makes them feel good for the day. Yeah. So it was more about, so when we were starting, how do you start grassroots? Like, where do you start? Where's your first starting point? So we found a building. Well, first it was like, come up with a name, and looked in the thesaurus and under the word drink. And the minute that I heard swig, I'm like, that's it.
That's awesome.
Can I have a swig of your drink? Yep. So finding a name, finding a building. The gentleman that owned the building was this 85-year-old gentleman that literally looked at me like we were crazy. Like, everybody sells fountain drinks. How are you going to make money off of that? But he just was super kind. It's like, I just want you guys to succeed. And again, it's our lowest rent to date. So found our building, fixed it up, and I knew we needed Coke and Pepsi because of my love of Diet Coke. Yeah. Pepsi did not want to be, this is another trailblazing moment that we didn't figure at the time was, but they don't like to exist in the same space, Coke and Pepsi. Well, we knew we needed both because we needed like Mountain Dew in there. So we got Coke to come along. They got their machine in. Pepsi would not. Wow. And I'm like, okay, well, we're just going to open. Because at this point, we'd had all of our stuff that we needed and done all the work, licensing, everything. Everything was ready to go, brought all the products in, and we're just going to open. So we opened the doors, and we were literally pouring Pepsi, Mountain Dew, any of those drinks from like a 2-liter bottle for a month. For a month, we did that. And one time there was this gentleman that was sitting out on our patio and he's drinking his Pepsi. And he knocks on the window and we're like, can I help you? How's it going? He's like, this is literally the best Pepsi that I've ever had. Like it was poured from a 2-liter bottle. But because of the ice in the cup and maybe just that love of the experience, it was the experience. Yeah. So Pepsi came around and they came in. And I think that is a market that we created that did not exist. And now they are in all of the competitors that are just like Swig. And it does exist now. Pepsi and Coke can get along in the same building. It works. So I think it's just like one step at a time is what I would tell people wanting to start their own business is don't try to solve all the problems at once.
Right.
Like you just go one step at a time. Start, where do I need to focus now? Okay, we need a name. Okay, we need a logo. Okay, we need a building. Okay, we need things to go in it. Things like that.
Great advice.
Yeah, just one step at a time. Don't think you have to go super fast. Although sometimes there's like, okay, we need a paycheck. Yeah. So, and we've been working on this for so long, but yeah, one step at a time.
That's awesome. Such great advice, especially now where it seems like everything is always on. You have to be perfect. You have to be the best. No, you start and iterate, along the way.
Execute along the way.
Such awesome.
It'll land better if you do it that way.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So as you see this, where do you see Swig in the next few years?
Oh, that's such a great question. I mean, like I said, I think Swig deserves to be everywhere, and I've kind of known that from the start. It just felt special. One of our partners described it, because we did bring on partners back in 2013 that were just mainly financial, so that we could afford to grow like we did. But he's like, you guys literally caught lightning in a bottle. Like you captured lightning in a bottle. That's how special it felt. And I mean, I think everybody feels that way about their business, their baby that they create. Yeah. But this just felt different and special. And I filled a need that just didn't exist. And so it's going to go everywhere. We get franchise requests from all over the world, really. Wow. And we haven't franchised yet because, like I said, I want to make sure that culture, that care, that love, customer service, team feeling, all of it is going to translate over into a franchise store to where they will all feel and look the same. My biggest fear is franchising and losing some of that. I know that the reality of it is that it will change a little bit. But that's why we haven't done it yet, is because we're really trying to create a really good package to where and support to where those stores will do well. Yeah. So we are in 5 different states, which is crazy. So we just opened one in Idaho last December. And then we have Utah. We have Phoenix, or Arizona, with more to come down there. We have Oklahoma, our 3rd one in Oklahoma City. We're branching out in Oklahoma. Texas, our first one in May. We have 4 more by the end of the year in Texas, with many more to come in Texas. We're going into Kansas. We're going into Nevada. Like, I really think it's as good as all of this is that I just described. Yeah. The best is yet to come, because it's now just going to really spread. We've done all the groundwork. A lot of work. I mean, it's never going to stop. The work is always going to continue as we refine and tweak and pivot and whatever. But it's honestly, I think it's going to be the next Starbucks for fountain drinks, or drinks in general, not just fountain drinks. Scratch fountain off of that for drinks, because people think we are just fountain drinks, but you have a water-based drink that you're drinking. And that's, I think, a myth that people outside of Utah think that it's just fountain drinks. Yeah. Like, no, it is literally any drink you want, from energy drinks to sparkling water to bobas. Yeah. Fountain drinks make up like 60% of what we sell of drinks. So we have something for everybody. Yeah. What I do envision also with Swig is we are more than just a drink. Like I said before, we're going to be a part of that community from the ways we give back to the community.
And I wanted to ask you about that. So tell us more about that. I know you do a few things, especially in February, and then also
October.
In October. So tell us about that.
Yeah. So the way that our October fundraiser came to be was just, I'm a breast cancer survivor. Was diagnosed before Swig days. It was actually the first part of 2009, and 37 years old, no history. A friend kept asking me to go get a mammogram, and I put it off forever. And it was a long story behind that, but I got my mammogram. And so early detection is huge. And that's part of something I hope Save the Cups kind of transitions into, as we can hopefully save women's lives that way. So anyway, had breast cancer, a rare one that if I wouldn't have gone in, I wouldn't be here today. Wow. My surgeon's like, your friend saved your life. So I think that gave me renewed life then to start a business. And then flash forward 10 years later, a partner of mine was like, we need to get back. We were so blessed, fortunately, during the pandemic that we not only survived, but we thrived because we had a drive-through. Right. So we were essential.
Yeah, that's right.
And so we wanted to get back. And so we started with Save the Cups. And he's like, tell me about what happened. Weren't your bills paid for? And I said, yes. So what happened is when I had my breast cancer, they took it out. Mine doesn't respond to chemotherapy and radiation. That's why it's so scary.
Wow.
You just cut it out. And so we caught it early enough to where we cut it out. But I had over $12,000 worth of medical bills. And so because we were in between jobs and no insurance, we qualified. And there was a generous donor that paid for all of my bills.
Wow.
And I paid $100. I wrote a check right there, like literally teary, amazing moment for me. So then he's like, that's what we need to do. My partner said, we are going to give back in the same way that you were given back to. And so it's very authentic, very genuine. It's very surreal to me. And so that's what we do. So we find women that are fighting for their lives. They've lost their hair. They've had mastectomies. They're going through chemotherapy treatment. And we go in and lift that medical weight off of their bills, off of their shoulders, to where when you're fighting cancer, the last thing you're worried about is how you're going to pay for it.
Right.
You can't worry about it because you're focusing all of your energy on surviving and not being a burden to your family. You're not worried about financial, although that's part of it. In fact, one amazing lady that I get the privilege, and it's kind of a task of picking the women that we give back to. And it's really hard. Like I go through that list with a fine tooth comb, and I'm just prayerful. One of the ladies, I didn't pick her the first time, and I don't know why I didn't. And so we picked 7, and then some of them only needed like $3,000 to $5,000 paid off. So we did that, and we still had plenty of money because I'm all over the place. So the first round of Save the Cups, we raised $161,000.
Wow.
Like unreal. And when I say we, that's our customers. Right. They're the ones doing it. They buy the drinks, they buy the stickers, they buy the tumblers, and some just donate. One customer in Draper donated $1,000 in the drive-through line.
Wow.
Because he trusts us with that money. So anyway, the second year we had more money. We raised $131,000. So not as much. Supply chain issues, hashtag 2021.
Yeah, right.
So we were missing tumblers. Anyway, I went through the list last November. I skipped over this lady, and my partner's like, hey, we have more money. Go back and pick 6 more. So I picked 6 more. She was one of them. And we call them on the phone and we say, we're considering you for Save the Cups. And she nominated herself. And in her nomination, she said, I just don't want to leave my husband with medical bills. She was terminal.
Wow. But
she didn't allude to that in her email. She just kind of said some words that I skipped over. And now I'm like, oh, I about missed that. We show up to her house. Her arm is 3 times the size. It is spread into her arms, into her lymph nodes.
Oh my goodness.
She has no hair. Hospice is surrounding her husband. She literally almost collapses when she sees me. We show up Publishers Clearinghouse with a big check at their front door and surprise them. She passed away 2 weeks later.
Oh my goodness.
So it was like, how am I so blessed to be able to give back like that? And so honestly, I think the Save the Cups, this is going to be our 3rd year, and it's the best is yet to come for that. The good that we can do with that. So again, I've said it 10 times now. We're more than just a drink.
Yeah.
We are a company that wants to be involved and help and lift and make people's day better in so many ways.
That is so awesome and so inspiring. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Because isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
The lasting impact is really in the care and concern and thoughtfulness towards someone else outside of ourselves, and businesses who give back that way, where there's an impact, makes all the difference. What an awesome story.
Thank you.
I want to keep talking for like another hour, but I know you have things to do. This is so awesome.
Oh,
Nicole,
yeah.
And I have to say, just so grateful we were connected. through someone who admires you so much and just is so inspired by you, which is my sister. And so I'm so grateful.
Love her.
For her making this connection for us.
I am too. It's all about connections in life, right? And giving back and helping lift a load and making everybody's days better. Yeah. Learning from each other.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So I have one final question.
Yeah.
What brings you joy today?
That is pretty easy to me. It's my family. It's my kids. In fact, I texted one of my daughters this morning and I just said, "How are you? I'm thinking of you and I love you." When I come up here to work, I have 3 of them up here, and 2 are married and one has a baby. And so I watched her last night while they went to Maverick, Top Gun, which if no one's seen that movie, plug for Tom Cruise. I'd love to meet you. He's my high school crush. Yeah. Anyway, they went to see Maverick, and but I got to watch this cute little Lola. She's almost 2. And so it's my family, my kids, my grandbabies. They are what bring me joy. They are what make it all worth it. They were along the struggle of the Swig journey. They had to, share me, and but it taught them how to work hard and how to sacrifice and how to see something through.
Yeah.
And so I hope that it's taught them things in life. It's kind of a love-hate relationship, Swig. It's what we talk about a lot. But they've all worked in the stores. They've all been shift leads. They've done great things with it, but they're amazing. That brings me joy. I love also to be outside, and growing up in Teton Valley, where it's just paradise. I love to hike. I've hiked the Grand Canyon a couple times.
Rim to rim?
Rim to rim.
Awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
Some people would say you're crazy if you do that. There's signs along the way. Please don't do this in one day.
Right.
Only for crazy people. But so no, it was amazing. It was amazing. So I love the outdoors. I love nature. God has created a beautiful world that we get to live in, and beautiful people that live in it. But yeah.
So true. Wow. So inspired. Thank you for your stories. Thank you for sharing this. And thank you for having the courage to start this and to do this. And as you think about the number of lives that you bless on a daily basis, that's a big deal. And congrats to you and your entire team.
Thank you. Takes a team.
And to the amazing team that took our order this morning.
I know. I'm so proud. I'm like, yes.
It was awesome. And to have them say, as I think that would be the goal of every leader, right? To have them not only know who you are, right, but to know how much you care. So Nicole, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much.
It's been awesome.
It's been a privilege, and we could keep talking.
I know.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much for listening to the Lemonade Stand podcast, and we hope you enjoyed this episode. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on whatever platform you use to be alerted when we release new episodes. We'd also love to hear your feedback in the reviews, and if you or someone you know has an awesome Lemonade Stand story, please reach out to us on social media and let us know. Thanks so much, and have a great day.